Nuno Tavares is Arsenal bound if they want him. Ben White is in the bag. And Lokonga is in its final stages before completion. Arsenal are closing in on their 3 first done deals of the summer. They're close to being completed. Hit that like button. Hit the share button. Here we go. Morning and welcome back to the Football Terrace. Make sure you're hitting that like button, sharing, subscribing, and turning on the bell notifications. Arsenal Football Club have been working tirelessly all summer. They want to make a statement. They are going to spend a lot of money on players. Between 100 to 200 million pounds will be spent if they can land their targets. A lot of approaches have been made. A lot of conversations have taken place, but it does appear now they are closing in on their first 3 done deals, their first 3 completed deals, and their first 3 major transactions of the 2021 summer transfer window. The big news came out last night, revealed by Sasha Tavalieri, by Fabrizio Romano, and a number of other outlets, and was completely and utterly in tune with what Christophe Terreur told you and I right here on the Football Terrace just over, in fact, 10 days ago. The exact amount of time that Lokonga had remaining on his holiday. A new bid has been submitted of 17.5 million plus 4. This has been practically accepted by Anderlecht. They don't have an issue. They're happy with the fee. They need to sell. We know there are financial issues there. The only small stumbling block, when I say stumbling block, it's very, very normal at this stage of negotiations, is the finer detail. There is an add-on clause of 15% that Anderlecht want to add into the structure, meaning they would receive 15% of any future transfer fee that Arsenal make. Arsenal are trying to negotiate that down to a region of about 10%, and it's likely a happy medium of around 12 to 12.5 will be found. But Lokonga, we've known for over a week now that he is going to be an Arsenal player. He's agreed personal terms, and we're never going to be an issue with this player. He wants to come and play for Arsenal, and he wants to come and play for Mikel Arteta. Highly rated young Belgian player. Very unlucky to not be in the squad, as it were. Only the return of Axel Witsel kept him out, but he will be an Arsenal player next season. The final details are being formulated and worked on now. By the end of this week, it would be very likely to see Arsenal formally announce the signing of the player and him to be part of the Arsenal squad for next season. And I think Arsenal fans, should be excited about this young guy. He's a hell of a prospect. He's highly rated in Belgium. A lot of big clubs are looking at him. And Arsenal really stole the march on this in many, many ways. They're getting this deal done before others have really made a move, which I think is important. If you look at Arsenal's history, the amount of times we read about the Yayas and the Zlatans and the Ronaldos that they could have signed before anybody else and they didn't. Maybe, just maybe, they're bucking their trends here very, very much indeed. I'm going to take a look at some of your comments that are coming through here. This is from South London's Finest. He says, still a lot of work to be done. We need a complete window, but I'm happy we are moving somewhat quickly by Arsenal's past standards. And Arsenal are, one of the reasons Arsenal are moving quickly is some years when clubs are linked with lots and lots of people, I think, pull the other one. But Arsenal are making lots of approaches for many players because they don't know who they can sign. There is a train of thought within the Arsenal camp, and we'll move on to Ben White now. It's a great segue. There are some thoughts in the Arsenal camp that if Man United or Liverpool suddenly become heavily interested in Ben White, they might not land him. Champions League football and all that jazz. So they're putting out a lot of feelers. They're talking to a lot of agents. They're talking to a lot of clubs. They're speaking to a lot of intermediaries. But it's to work out who is actually available at a good price, who actually wants to join Arsenal. When they're getting the nibbles, as it were on the bait, they are acting quickly. They've done that with Lokonga. They've done exactly the same thing with Ben White. Ben White been played down a little bit in recent days, but Ben White is very encouraged about joining Arsenal. He sees it as a big step up and a big opportunity for himself from Brighton. Now, that deal is in a situation where, again, being away with England is rather holding this deal up. But Arsenal are confident that Ben White will sign from Brighton. That's been reported by Fabrizio, by David Ornstein, and of course by our very own Dean Jones and Peter O'Rourke. Works in process on the final fee. Personal terms have already been agreed. Now, 2 bids have gone in. Whether they've been made official or whether they've been via intermediaries, I don't really care at this stage over the semantics of these deals. They've gone in twice. Everybody kind of knows this is going to end at £50 million. They've put a complete deal in that's worth around £50 million. The add-ons and the upfront fees and the installments are just not where they need to be at this point. So things are being negotiated on because sorry, I was just reading something else there, and it took my attention away from what I was saying there. Apologies. I was very intrigued by a certain message, and it isn't what I thought it was. Sorry. Apologies. So for me, it's very much a case. It's very much a case of, Arsenal trying to get their ducks in a row and get their stuff done early. But of course, while there's no pressure on the Ben White deal because they're the front runners, they can spend time negotiating on the structure. They can spend time negotiating and getting the deal, hopefully, to the best terms possible. If suddenly another team gets involved, you'll see them act a lot quicker. As fans, we tend to banter this and get annoyed about it. But actually, it's pretty bog standard for all clubs at all levels to do this. There is time to there is a lot of time to work on deals when you're a front runner for a player. It's just as simple and as straightforward as that. So when you look at the Ben White situation, that's where it needs to be. Very, very close to being agreed as well. The majority of the deal is done. Ben White will be an Arsenal player as things stand now. And then finally, we move on to the deal that I would say come out of the blue. I mean, it wasn't a deal that's been spoken about for months and months. Isn't a player that I've seen overtly linked with Arsenal, but I'm not as close to it as Gunners. And that is, of course, Nuno Tavares. Benfica player, very talented, predominantly plays on the left-hand side, but can play right back as well. He's favoured in both positions. Portuguese, Cape Verde descent. Cape Verde, by the way, if you ever get to go anywhere on holiday like that, give it a go. Beautiful, beautiful place. Reports of a 12 to 13 million pound deal having been agreed for the Portuguese defender, and I think it's some really good cover. Some people are talking about, well, will he be a replacement for Bellerin? I suppose that shows, like a lot of us, a bit of an ignorance to the position that he plays in. Yes, it shows that he's played at right back on a number of occasions, but he's left-footed. He's primarily a left back, and he's coming in to be cover for the Kieran Tierney's of this world. But he's coming in to be cover at 21 years of age. I'm sure this young man has the desires and the want and the determination to become a first team player at Arsenal. And that's the kind of energy that they want. And it does appear that this profile of player is consistent amongst Arsenal's targets this summer. Young, up and coming, highly talented, fresh, got the bit between their teeth, want to make it, want to push on. And if you think about Lokonga, you think about Ben White, you now think about Nuno Tavares, they all fit that exact same model. And from my perspective and my point of view, looking at this as a Manchester United fan, but of course the host of this neutral channel, the Football Terrace, this is very, very good business indeed. Very, very good business indeed from the Gunners. Young, exciting prospects that have got high ceilings, that have got all the potential in the world. They're better off spending their money here than dropping £250,000, £300,000 a week on players that are past their best. They're better off putting their resources into 4, 5, 6 highly talented players than spending the vast majority of their funds on one star player, still having multiple holes all over the squad. It's about building the foundation first, and that appears to be what Arsenal were doing. Tremendous work that space they're operating in right now. There's no doubt about it. The devil's advocate here. How you doing, buddy? Good morning to you, my friend. Hope you're well. We've got a super chat here that says, I didn't see you guys speak about the Swiss team yesterday. We definitely spoke about Switzerland last night. There's no doubt about it. We absolutely did. We spoke about how well they played, how well organized they were, how Granit Xhaka was an absolute demon. Very, very impressive performance from them overall as a team. 3 very well created goals in the game, great determination and everything else. Of course, we focus big on France because they were the favourites. And from a, what I think we've got to remember, my bro, and I mean this with respect, is we focus on stories that the majority of the audience are interested in. If I just sat and did streams about all the things that I cared the most about, people wouldn't watch, because if it's not what the masses are here to listen to and speak about, people go away and go elsewhere. So it becomes it's a little bit like transfer news. Everybody hates the volume of transfer news we get, but at the same time they request it. You know, we tend to create these situations for ourselves. But no, we definitely praised him yesterday, no doubt about it. Leon Sniper says, big up you, Terry. I've got a question. Get your questions in. Remember what we're running until the end of this month, a wicked competition that any super chats over £5 or anyone who signs up to our membership program goes into the prize draw to win a football shirt of your choice at the end of the month. Man like Stu says, Arsenal moving for Maddison, a guy who went clear off the boil at Leicester and warms the bench. Ben White had one good year under Bielsa and returned back to his previous level since. Again, Arsenal are clueless is what Stu believes. Twisted Bubba in the house here says, Terry, why are Arsenal choosing quantity over quality? Half-hearted attempt at ambition. Do you know what I would say, Twisted? I don't think Arsenal were picking quantity over quality. I think they're I've spoken about this for a long time before, right? Why try and buy one of the best left backs in the world for huge amounts of money when you're in Arsenal's position? Why try and buy one of the best midfielders in the world when you're in Arsenal's position? Why not buy the next top midfielder? Why not buy the next top centre back? Why not buy the next top fullback? Fish in a pond that actually puts less pressure on you as a team. That means you can improve the overall quality of the squad, because it's going to take Arsenal 3 or 4 years, in my opinion, to genuinely get back, as it stands right now, to challenging. They'll give it a good go at top 4. But I think when you look at where Liverpool are, when you look at where Chelsea and Man City are, and where Man United also are at the moment, and a scary thought for rivals has got to be this. Man United are building a very tasty squad. The manager may not be good enough, but if he isn't good enough, he gets sacked and maybe a better guy comes in, but the squad's there. Those 4 teams look set for me. Leicester have improved massively. You've got Aston Villa themselves that are trying to do bits. I think, okay, top 4 challenging, at least 2 years away for Arsenal. Challenging back for titles, again, like major titles, that's 4 years away minimum until they're in a position to do that. If you start buying superstar players now, and that's where the majority of your budget goes, but the core of your squad is weak, I don't think you improve as quickly. Where actually, if you build a really good base this summer, and maybe next summer you start adding those smidges of top talents that are available, I think you see a quicker but more sustainable improvement in the team. That's what I would say there. Terry, your eyes look like you had a rough night. No, not really, bruv. I'm all good. But thank you very much for caring. Do me a favor this morning, people, and smash that like button, please. Just as requested here by South London's finest. Smash the like button, subscribe, and share. Thank you very much indeed. Let's take a look here. David here says, morning, Terry. So if Arsenal get their guys in, where do you think the bar is set? I still don't see it. I would say top 6 finish. More points, at least 5 more wins in the league, and at least 6 less defeats. As if we're going to really try and quantify it, would be an improvement. I'm not too bothered about talking about the style of football improving, because it becomes a roundabout conversation. Nobody ever wants to. If you're an Arteta out guy, they're never going to tell you what the football's got to look like to be better, because they'll either set the bar so high that it can't be achieved, or they'll just say it doesn't matter, I'm not entertained anyway. So a team improving has to be based on wins, points, league positions, trophies. Those things will all need to be considered. So I think Arsenal can push themselves back into that position. But I think with the profile of player they're signing, and if they have that strength of depth to their squad, you've still got the Ruben Neves, you've got Basuma, that are one of those 2 is likely to join Arsenal this summer. You may get a Maddison, you may be able to pull in a Mahrez. Mahrez could be doable depending on who they buy. Depending what the package is, Mahrez would love to play in London. He bought a property in London back in 2018, or back into 2017, 2018. He thought he was coming to Arsenal before. Maybe at this point in his career, it'd be a good move and opportunity for him. So there's some really talented players that Arsenal may be able to bring in. So I would say top 4, 5, top 6, definitely this year. Use that as a base and as a platform moving into the following season and go again, is what I would say. Let's keep walking down here. Leon says, Terry, we need to keep the low if we play a back 5. He's so silky and technical. That could be true. That could be true. Let's have a little look here. There was a comment I wanted to read, actually. My guy here, the Vav says, Arsenal owners said they have 250 million to spend. Is there any truth in this? Well, if you listen to the Done Deal show from yesterday, what Dean Jones believes is that Arsenal will definitely spend north of 100. We've got to think the 3 signings we're talking about are going to cost circa 90 million to 100 million pounds. When it's all said and done, they're going to spend 90 to 100 million pounds on the transfer fees of these players. They're still looking at Basuma or Ruben Neves. Those players are, say, 40 million pounds a pop. So one of them comes in. We're looking at 130 million pounds. You are still inquiring about Maddison. You are inquiring about Raheem Sterling. You are inquiring about Mahrez. If you were to land any single one of those players, that's 50, 60 million pounds. You're now looking at somewhere in the region of 160 to 180 million pounds spent on players. 250 may be too much of a push, but between 100 to 200 million pounds is absolutely, I think it's almost a shoe-in this summer for Arsenal Football Club. They have to make a statement. They have to go and spend money. It simply has to happen. H7 here says, according to ISE Sports Stake, Saka is worth 108 million without the euros. Euro tax equals 50 million. It's interesting, really. When you see the valuations of players, that doesn't include anything like we call English tax. If you were to try and buy Saka right now from Arsenal, it's going to cost you 120 million quid. Part of the England setup. Killed it last season for Arsenal Football Club. There's no doubt about it. The English tax is there because you've got the homegrown element as well. Plus, he's a player Arsenal want to keep hold of. And you know what? Like, as a Man United fan, there's just part of me that thinks, you know, if Arsenal stay in the mud for the next couple of years, I'd love Man United to go look at him because he's so versatile, but at the same time brilliant in every single position that he plays in. He's an absolute star. There's no doubt about it whatsoever. Terry, buying potential is very risky unless you're managed by a world-class manager. Well, what I would say, Twisted, is that the one thing about Mikel Arteta, what he's done very well at since he's been the Arsenal manager is developing the young players. What he's done very well at is getting the best out of the Emil Smith-Rowe's and the Sakas, the Kieran Tierney's of this world. Gabriel, when he's come in, as an example, I think those players have done better than some of the established stars. So I actually think, based on what we've seen from Mikel Arteta, signing 20, 21, 22, 23-year-olds who are hungry, that are determined, that want to make it, that maybe have a point to prove, maybe like a James Maddison, I think he can get the absolute best out of people like that. Maybe the signings of Raheem Sterling suddenly, you know, Raheem Sterling and Mahrez, the one thing we forget is they'll know him very well and there'll be a respect for his time at Man City. So I don't necessarily agree with what you're saying there, Twitter. I don't think buying potential is overtly risky when you're in Arsenal's position. If you're Liverpool and you've won the league and then all your new signings are potential and it's going to take you 2 or 3 years to rebuild a title-winning team, that's risky because you can lose fans along the way. They can fall out of love with FSG. They can become more disgruntled, less patient. When you're in Arsenal's position, signing big names hasn't really worked. Spending big money, yes, Pepe towards the end of last season was improving, but there wasn't a huge level of improvement. There really, really wasn't. Tade says he agrees with me. Thank you very much, my brother. Hope you are well. Martinelli, Guendouzi, and Saliba would walk into the starting 11, but were treated wrong. Well, I think Martinelli's a player that's going to play a lot more under Mikel Arteta. There's no doubt. Guendouzi, I can only go by what I read, but I think there's a bit of an attitude problem with him as a player, him as a person. I think there is an astounding level of arrogance within him. I don't know how hardworking he is in terms of improving his game and being a team player. Saliba, let's see what happens. I mean, there's a lot of talk about him leaving. There's a lot of talk about him being given major opportunities, and I see some very negative Arsenal fans out there in on the social space that are like, one report says we're gonna give Saliba a chance, another report says we're gonna let him go. No one knows. The club don't know. We're a disgrace. Listen, signing additional quality when you already have quality should be nothing but encouraging. It should be nothing but encouraging. And if Saliba's good enough, he'll start and play for Arsenal. And good enough doesn't mean having the best ability. It doesn't mean being technically gifted. Good enough is those things coupled with attitude, application, dedication, and respect. And if you have all of those things as a collective, Arsenal are building a very young and talented squad. There's no doubt about it. Imagine Declan Rice putting in this Xhaka performance against France. They'd say he's worth £100 million. Well, the West Ham are already demanding around £100 million for him. So that's already happened, my bruv, without that kind of performance. Hands off our star boy. Listen, I know you like him, but I'd love him at Man United. He's quality, mate. Trix J, one of our members, says Saliba is going to the Olympics. So he won't get a pre-season to show his worth. Stockton with the super chat here says, Terry, with the Europa Conference League a thing now, does that mean top 7 is the new top 6? People seem to want to avoid the conference. I think what's interesting for me, where I feel frustrated, really frustrated at UEFA, and I know that it's hard. I think they need to they need to take a little bit from Peter and give to Paul here. They need to take some money out of the Champions League and make winning the Europa League and the Conference League more lucrative to clubs. Then you'd get more teams try to win it and more teams try and get into it. I would just love UEFA and all the league associations to stop this nonsense. Well, it's more the English because all the foreign European leagues love it. We need to make qualifying for Europe feel like an honor as opposed to a hindrance. And I think if there was money at stake, trust me, if there was a £30 million prize for winning the Europa League, you would suddenly see clubs stop moaning about Thursday, Sunday. Thursday, Sunday is the biggest myth in football as far as I'm concerned. I've never heard anybody scientific explain why Thursday, Sunday is different to Wednesday, Saturday. I get Tuesday. If someone plays on a Tuesday in Champions League and then on Sunday, it's great. But actually, it's a madness to me. And the leagues can do something to help that. Do you know what I mean? Move a few more games to Mondays or whatever it may be. There's things that can be done to make that work. I actually think what they should do as well is shrink the Champions League and make it smaller. So all of the Champions League is, say, played on a Tuesday. I would then play the Europa League on a Wednesday and the Conference League on a Thursday, put more money into all those. When I grew up, winning the Champions League was a pinnacle, but winning the Cup Winners' Cup, winning the UEFA Cup was also looked at as a very big achievement. They should go back to that, in my opinion. And I don't quite know how they do it, but that's what I would love to see, because then it would imagine feeling like you've got Champions League football 3 nights running rather than just 2 nights running. Stop this nonsense of if you fall out the Champions League, you go into the Europa. It just is what it is. That's what I would look to do anyway. That's what I would look to do. But maybe that's just me. Xhaka 35 million tops, and that's generous, is what David says here. The conference is such a hindrance, and I hear you on that, because there isn't a huge prize at the end of it that everybody's encouraged by. Let's move on to the Tavolieri. We spoke about Tavolieri. We spoke about Ben White as well today. Interesting deals, all of them. I'm very intrigued to see how they're going to sort of progress and how they're going to move forward and how they're going to develop. There's no doubt about that. But Arsenal close to 3 done deals. They're on their way very, very soon indeed. And young, talented, energetic, top-class players, there's no doubt about it. I'm going to do some more of your comments here. Have you heard about Kingsley Coman to Liverpool? Seems very legit. Luke, again, we spoke about this yesterday. I do mean this. You might all be new to the terrace. If you're new to the terrace, my brother, I respect it. Yesterday morning, you go onto our homepage and click on the link, the playlist for our Done Deal shows. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the link for yesterday's Done Deal show into the comment section. Go and watch it. We timestamp it. We timestamp the show so that you can go back as a viewer and you can essentially you can look at all the different deals. We speak about the Coman deal. I think what's interesting is this. Me and Dean Jones spoke about this, and it's very much a case of Liverpool's news is very close to their chest. if you're not seeing the James Pearces of this world, the Reddies of this world, there's a few others whose names now, if the tier one respected Liverpool journalists are not reporting on the transfers, be excited. That's my overarching thought on it. The reason that is those journalists so close to Liverpool, they respect what Liverpool are trying to achieve. They don't report on the speculation that could lead to the selling club upping prices, bidding wars, and all that jazz that comes with it. Of course, there are journalists that from outside of Liverpool, and there are journalists from outside of the UK that have no ties to Liverpool Football Club and couldn't care less whether the stories get leaked. They're just doing their job. But if there's no report from James Pearce and co, I would believe there's and I'm talking like an Ornstein or a Fabrizio type, this is what's happening and bids gone in. And if they're playing it down, then I'd get really excited. That's what my thoughts are. I think Liverpool are definitely looking at players like Kingsley Coman. He's the profile, he's the position, he's also the price range they're looking at. We of course spoke to actually in a missed call from Said Walid yesterday, the agent who's connected to Liverpool. I need to call him back. I was just so busy I didn't get round to it. But essentially, as he said to me 3 months ago here on the terrace, Liverpool, the profile of player are 30 to 40 million pound players only, unless they sell one of their stars to raise funds. Kingsley Coman fits, no doubt. Man like Pav here says, Arsenal is a stepping stone for these players. Well, I also think there's an element of truth in that. So I don't think it's disrespectful to suggest that. It's a double-edged sword. But Arsenal also know this. It's why they're negotiating down the sell-on clauses of particular players. And Arsenal know that also buying these players, there's an insurance policy financially for them. The Cronkies know this. Let's buy young, talented players. If they reach their potential, but Arsenal don't, we can sell them for big money. If you sign a 28-year-old star in 3 years for 80 million, in 3 years' time, you can't sell him for 80 million, no matter how good he is. There's no resale value. So Arsenal are trying to build a team that gives them a foundation to go back to being top 4 contenders and maybe title challengers in the next 4 to 5 years. But they're also buying players and profiles of individuals that enable them to sell them on and make money and maybe start again if it doesn't quite work. It is a good plan. It is a good plan. And I know Arsenal fans won't want to hear that element of, but I wouldn't want to sell these guys. I don't, that sounds negative. But what you have to sort of remember is you need, any plan you have, there needs to be a contingency. There needs to be an alternative. If there isn't, you could find yourselves in hot water if it goes wrong. JJ says Coman's injury record is absolutely horrendous, worse than Dembele, and that's saying something, is what JJ says. I didn't really realize he had a bad injury record. That's something I've never looked at. AFC Carl says if Arsenal had 5 more wins, they would have finished second last year. Well, there we go. But you've got to take into consideration more wins from other people. Maybe 5 more wins is a little bit harsh then. And that's been speaking off the top of my head. But I still think you're capable of 5 more wins. I do think, I look back at a lot of games you lost last year. Like, you got beat by Burnley twice, didn't you? They're games you should be winning, in my opinion. I think 5 more wins next season is doable. I actually don't think that's a madness for Arsenal Football Club. But what you've got to factor in is fans are going to be back. Different pressures are there. But I think Man United could have won 4 or 5 more games this season. City definitely could have won 3 or 4 more games. Liverpool could have won 10 more games this year. There's no doubt. How many games did Arsenal lose this season that were close and lost by the odd goal? Like, it's doable, bro. I know it really is doable. But then it's not just, you remember, it isn't just you improving. It's does everybody else improve? Listen, if Arsenal improve massively and 3 or 4 teams go backwards, you could find yourself there a little bit sooner. But what you have to do when you're planning in life is you plan for you and what you're doing and not other people. I've got my plan for the Football Terrace. I know where I want to be. I know what kind of content we're going to be making for you guys. I know where I'd love to get the channel. I'd love to know. There isn't a ranking system, but I would love to one day be considered the best. Of course I would. I know who I think the best channels are. You know, the AFTVs and the United stands and the True Geordies are goated. There's no doubt about it. I really like, I'm going to get his name wrong now, and I've been watching him a lot recently, that, you know, that Yannick, the Chelsea fan, absolute amazing channel in terms of what he does. These guys, there's loads of brilliant people out there, but I'd love to one day be considered the best. But I don't focus on what everybody else is doing. I focus on me. You might, and then you work out where you're going to go. Do you know what I mean? I don't sit and go, oh, do you know what? There's no point me trying to be the best because True Geordie's always going to be, channel's always going to be better than mine. It may very well be, but I don't focus on what they might do or what they don't do. I focus on me becoming the best version of myself and then see what comes of it. And that's what Arsenal need to do. You should look to try and improve by 4 or 5 wins next season. Now, if everybody else improves by 4 or 5 wins above you, it won't change too much, but you've done your job. Arteta cannot control how good all the teams above him are next season. He can only control his team. So that's what you should focus. I hope that my example makes sense. Do you get where I'm coming from? Like, one of the big channels might decide to close down next year, and then by default, I'll become better than them because they're not there anymore. But imagine I just gave up and I wasn't ready to step up. It wouldn't make sense. That's what I'm saying, really. You just got to be ready to jump in. You got to be ready to jump in. Listen, I appreciate you might prefer what we do, but I know how great these channels are, and you know they've achieved absolute madnesses. But we've got some good stuff in the pipeline, which we're very, very excited about indeed. So there's no doubt about it. Sancho deal should be done soon. Listen, it's pretty much sorted. I spoke to somebody very well connected to Man United yesterday, and they simply said that one of the major reasons for the slight hold up in what's going on right now with the deal is Man United have got to make a decision on how they announce this. They've got barely any access to Sancho because of the bubble he's being kept in for England, and they won't want to disrespect. Imagine they film something for Sancho. Sancho tests positive, and then 3 or 4 other players do, and it decimates the England squad. Like, can you imagine? So I think Manchester United, they almost don't want to make a holding announcement because it takes the shine off. I think they want to do something big, bold, and powerful for this deal. But there is also that pressure of fans demanding an update on it. But there we go. Arsenal Alex says your channel is brilliant. No, thank you, and I do appreciate that. I do appreciate it. I suppose it's my logic to life, though. You know, one of my favorite singers in the whole world is a guy called Lamar. He hasn't sold anywhere near as many albums as, say, Drake. And I'm not talking like this is Lamar from Fame Academy. Love the way he sings. But I think he's better. But in reality, he isn't because the album numbers that somebody else sells compares to him. And I think that's what it's all about for me. But it was actually him that, like, I remember listening to an interview he did once, like Lamar, and he was talking about people like sort of saying, do you compete against people in terms of what you sell? And he sort of said that to a degree, yeah. He says, but I just focus on making the music that I like and doing things how I want. And then what happens, happens. And that's always been my mantra with the Terrace. I'm going to talk about things I like. I'm going to talk about what things my audience likes. I'm going to do my thing and see where that leads us. And generally speaking, all good. Morning, Sedu. Hope you are well. It's about the eye test for you, Terry. No, it's a preference thing, isn't it? I suppose the eye test and preferencing are probably the same thing, to be fair. Yeah, you're spot on, actually. I concede that one, absolutely. Let's do a few more. Morning, Sharek. Hope you're well, mate. Bloody nervous. I'm very nervous for today. I'm very, very nervous because it's like my big brother messaged me this morning, and my big brother's had COVID. He's been really ill with COVID the last 2 or 3 weeks. Very, very sick with COVID. And he messaged me and was like, it wasn't the guys I've been awake all night and it weren't the COVID, it's the football. He's like, I'm so nervous, I'm so scared, I'm the same. And I'm actually, the longer I'd love to, it's because I want it so bad. I want to beat Germany. I want to beat a big team in a knockout competition. And it's just weird with England because the Premier League's so big, because England invented football, because there's a pedigree for the sport in this country. I want to make sure I word this in the right way. I'm always really a bit shocked, really, by the way we view football as a nation. We've got all this pedigree, we've got all this history. We won the World Cup many, many years ago. But you got the Premier League that's amazing. We're respected for our football. you speak to most football people, playing or going to Wembley is looked at as the mecca of football, like Lords is looked at in cricket, like Wimbledon is looked at in tennis. But I almost feel like a lower league team on an FA Cup run whenever we're a major tournament. So beating Germany, we've barely beaten in the last 30, 40 years major nations, major footballing nations in knockout competitions. So to do it is an achievement. And anybody that downplays this is being so disingenuous to the fact. They're being so disingenuous. I'm not comparing it to Finland winning their first ever game at the Euros, but it's close. Beating Germany tonight in itself is historic. The same as winning our opening game. Like England, until this tournament, since the 50s, had never won their opening game at this tournament. We've never had 3 clean sheets on a bounce at a tournament ever, I believe. Maybe 1996. So these little things you should hold on to because they are rare. They are absolute rarities. And to beat Germany tonight, to open up a very clear path to the final, would be nothing short of sensational. You know, there'll be no one left on this side of the draw that England are not superior to in terms of quality. You just need to be superior to them in terms of tactics, approach, and determination and desire on the night. I think you were going to see a very excited nation if England win tonight, but a very upset and tired nation if we lose. I pray every single one of those boys goes out there and gives their all. I wish no luck to the Germans, not one bit. I wish them all health and safety through the game, but no luck in the match. It's going to be beautiful. 5 p.m. We're live straight after that game, so make sure you'll be the terrace all day for that. Thank you very much, Leon, for your comment there. I really appreciate that, bro. Deshane says, Terry, score prediction for tonight's game. I'm going 2-1 or 1-0 scrappy win and hope your brother gets well. Thank you very, very much, my friend. That means a good deal to me. I'm sure he's going to be all right. My brother's, he's a good lad. He'll be fine. Terry, are you Southgate? Terry, you're Southgate for 5 minutes. Do you guarantee a win tonight? I don't quite. No, you never guarantee a win as a manager. That's suicide. You don't. You can never guarantee a win. Football don't work like that. But I hear you. Germany's last team in the group of death left in the tournament. This is very, very true. Can you imagine they go out? Can you imagine if everyone in the group of death? I guarantee you'd have got 500 to 1 odds on all the teams from the group of death being out by the end of the last round of 16. You'd have been called a madman. And that's why I'm the prediction things are just done now for me. Predictions are just stupid in football now. They're just stupid in football now. There's no doubt about it whatsoever. Do me a favor, please, people, and smash that like button for us this morning. Morning, Terry. Score predictions. I'm going to go over 2-0 England win. I'm going to be really confident. And that's me putting confidence in them as opposed to being arrogant. 2-0 England win. Hi, Terry. Just wanted to say what brilliant content you have brought to me over the last year. I've been here since you used to do the streams in your lunch breaks on the street. Look how far you have come. You're an inspiration. Thank you, Paul Harper. That means a great deal to me, my friend. And, you know, we've got lots of great things in the pipeline. Well, what we think are great things in the pipeline as well. So very, very excited about that indeed. Thank you very, very much, mate. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Let's do some more of your comments here. Francisco says, I think the guy was what you would do. What would you do if you were Southgate? Is that what you meant? Maybe. Sorry, maybe I misread it. It's a difficult one for me. Sancho would start for me. On the right. Grealish has got to start. I actually don't mind what I heard from again, the approach that Wayne Rooney spoke about the other day, almost going 3 workhorses in midfield. And then maybe playing, you know, Sancho one side, you know, a bit of Rashford. I almost wouldn't. Part of me feels like dropping Harry Kane as well. Rashford right, Grealish false 9, Sancho on the right. Catch him on the counter, maybe. I don't know. I haven't really. Do you know what? I haven't thought about it at all from a tactical point of view. I really, really haven't. It's a hard one for me to answer just off the cuff straight like that, but. It's certainly an interesting one indeed. Let's take a look at some more of these comments here. Terry, Kai will score against England. Swiss and Denmark is playing better attacking football than England. Your manager is more defensive. Spain, Swiss, even the Czech Republic are better than England. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, this is what I'm intrigued about tonight as a football fan, how our defense holds up. If we look defensively sound tonight, that spectrum changes. That spectrum changes for me. April says it's a madness that people take favourites winning as gospel. Do you know, I think some people do it because it's the easy bet. It's a simple thing to say. It's the easy bet to say, no one but France is winning it, because you're more likely to be right. And I think a lot of people, whether they do it consciously or subconsciously, they're more inclined to predict things that they know are going to be right, as opposed to how they feel, because everybody's scared of being in the mud. Everybody's scared of being in the mud or being bantered, and it's a madness, really. Just to give a recap, in case anyone new is tuning into this stream, Arsenal were very, very close to confirming their first 3 signings of the summer. Ben White is all but done. Final stages of the fee structure being negotiated with Brighton. Lokonga, it's imminent. The announcement is a day or so away, according to many, many reports. The final piece of a sell-on structure is being negotiated and finalized by Arsenal Football Club right now. And the deal for Nuno Tavares is also closer and closer, according to Fabrizio Romano, with a deal almost in place to bring him to the Emirates Stadium. That is 3 highly talented young players on their way to Arsenal Football Club in the very near future indeed. Pav here says their centre-backs are poor. Isn't it a perfect game for Calvert-Lewin to come in and use his strength and height? It very well could. Listen, if we get Spain at any point, I want us to start Kane and Calvert-Lewin and be knocking balls into the box. And that's what I want to see from England. They've got such a versatility in their team. I don't think there is any such thing as your best team. I think it's a case of we don't play a prescribed way like the Dutch or the Spanish do, in my opinion. I think we play in a way where, okay, today we need more techie players. We start the techers. Actually, we need to whip a lot of balls into the box, maybe some diagonals in this game, because Spain are awful with balls in the air. Calvert-Lewin, you're in the team for that. Yeah, it's a case. Sometimes it's horses for courses when you have a squad like England. When you have a manager, it's this notion of picking the same players every single week. Even at club level, I think is a madness. Oh, what's our strongest 11? My question back is always who are we playing? Who are we playing? Tells me who our strongest 11 should be. You know. That's always been my view on these things. 1 second here. So I just got to update one little thing here. Page carry. My God. Sometimes I type things and I hit that. All right, that's updated. There we go. Let's take a look at a few more of these comments that have come through here. How do managers help players to manage to not play the occasion? Well, the managers don't do anything per se. It's about the structure you build. So psychologists are a massive part of the game now. Speaking to players, getting them to do exercises, visualization, and whatnot to help themselves. And I think that's something that England neglected for about 20 years, where other nations have been doing it for a long, long while. So I don't think it's about so much Southgate doing anything directly, but it's about how he delegates that responsibility to skilled individuals. If you have Spain's trained sports or clinical psychologists within your setup, within your staff to talk to players and to manage the way they handle things, it can be done. It can be done. Why do Arsenal transfer news remind me of Tottenham's managerial position? So many links, rejections consistently. In fairness, Monsieur, like Arsenal haven't really been rejected by many people. They're talking to a lot of people to see who they could sign. I wouldn't necessarily say, excuse me, Arsenal have been massively rejected. I think Arsenal, loads of clubs inquire about people. No, like, he's not interested in going to London or moving to the Prem or playing for Arsenal, so they move on. But Arsenal have had to go after a lot of people because of the situation they find themselves in. The Tottenham managerial situation is a legitimate clusterfuck. I wouldn't even say it's remotely similar at all, my friend. Do me a favor this morning, people, and smash that like button. Very, very important to the terrace that we get that done. Thank you. A few people here saying that Ornstein has tweeted. Let's go and have a little look at what man like Ornstein has said today. I don't know what he said, but we'll go and check it out here. What has he put out? Has he tweeted 14 minutes ago? Saka is expected to start for England. Oi, fucking oi, oi, oi. Do you know what? I pray he does here. It says last 16 tie versus Germany, 20-year-old shone in the final group stage game and is likely to join Sterling behind Mount, Kane, and Grealish. Mount and Kane, Grealish and Foden look sent to be on the bench. Listen, I really want Grealish to start the game. But the fact that if Saka gets in, I have to say, that's still good. That is still a good approach from Gareth Southgate, no doubt about it. The Grealish, maybe he's looking for a bit more structure, a bit more pressing, a bit more legs in Mason Mount that he doesn't think he's going to get from Jack Grealish. Maybe that's that horses for courses thing I was just talking about. But Saka deserves it after his performance. There's no doubt about it. Absolutely deserved it after that performance in the last game. Andre here says, I don't know what that word means. Does it mean up Switzerland? Come on, Switzerland, I think. Big up to you, Terry. Great shows, insightful news. Best fan platform on YouTube. Press the like button, people. Thank you very, very much, my friend. I'm going to retweet that news there. That's amazing that Saka's starting tonight. What a turnaround. Like, not a turnaround, but what a start to his career he's having. Starting in a massive game for England. Been the star of Arsenal for the past 18 months or so. Absolutely brilliant. Let's keep going through here. About time Southgate grew a pair. Saka deserves to start. Absolutely. Meritocracy. Look, you need to get the combination between meritocracy and personnel for that particular game right. So it isn't just about playing well. You should start the next game. We're going to play with 2 DMs tonight. Rice and Phillips could put in the 2 best performances we've ever seen from midfielders in England shirts tonight defensively. If our next game's against the Ukraine, where we're going to be more attacking and more expansive, I wouldn't want them both to start still because it's horses for courses. But I totally get where you're coming from. The Shane says Saka is 19. Is he 19? There we go. Ornstein might have got that wrong. Is he? I'm not challenging you. I don't know how old he is. I don't really look. Yeah, he's 19. Geez, you're absolutely spot on, mate. But there we go. Even better. Even better. But listen, everyone who's tuned in, this only a short stream from us this morning. We are going to be back later on today with more content for you, building up to the England game as well. Do me a big, big favor and smash that like button for us. Subscribe to the Football Terrace. But until next time, take care of yourselves. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again